Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this webinar on amplifying your Jama requirements management solution with Parasoft. My name is Ricardo Camacho. I'll be your host today, and we'll also be delivering a live demonstration of the integration between Jama and Parasoft. So very informative and exciting stuff to come. But before we get started, let's go through some housekeeping. First, everybody's microphone has been muted. However, if you have questions, please enter them into the question dialog box. You can do this at any time. Also, the presentation is being recorded and will be made available typically within 8 to 12 hours. On the agenda, I'm going to start with a very quick overview of Parasoft in case this is the first time you're attending one of our webinars. I will then discuss the value that the integration between Parasoft and Jama Connect brings to the table, followed by the exciting live demo, where I will take you through a couple of workflow scenarios so that you can walk away with a really good understanding of the value and approach to verifying and validating Jama requirements using Parasoft. After the demo, we will open it up for Q&A, and I'm going to put up a call to action to come visit our website and please try our products. All right. Let's start with the intro. Parasoft has been in the software industry for over 33 years, leading the business in automated software testing. We have a very strong focus in offering the solutions needed by software companies in achieving standards compliance for safety and security critical systems. Our headquarters, and which I'm located nearby, is located in beautiful Monrovia, California, and we have various offices around the world. Also, we have a very broad product portfolio, not just in the embedded space, but also in the IT enterprise space. And this puts Parasoft in a very unique and advantageous position. Not only do we offer embedded safety critical testing solutions in the automotive, military, rail, industrial, and medical space, but we also support financial services, banking, healthcare, insurance, and other IT industries. So if you happen to be in the IT industry, know that Parasoft and actually Jama also both support your space. Now, another key point is that all of our products in our portfolio are built by Parasoft. So they're not acquired, therefore the integrations are seamless, which is really nice and very important. So why the integration? Well, our combined solutions offer a beginning-to-end application lifecycle framework for software development, design, testing, and acceptance. Both of our customers have the same industry safety process standards compliance needs, like DO 178, ISO 26262, IEC 62304, and many others. So our tools complement and help complete the software development lifecycle very well. For example, with Jama, you will author your requirements, create descriptive test cases, fulfill that important traceability matrix, and also produce compliance reports. However, Parasoft will take you through the steps or process of creating and executing the testing methods needed for validation and certification. This means that we realize the Jama descriptive test cases, and I'm actually going to show you in the demo. We can also automatically create from scratch Jama test cases, followed by the test runs, and link them to the corresponding requirements. This fulfills the whole traceability from requirements to test results, and also down to the code, which is captured in both Jama and Parasoft. Testing can also be performed on host and or target environments. And no matter what development methodology you're using, Agile, Spiral, Waterfall, some custom process, both of our solutions can accommodate you. One additional infographic just to help put things in the big picture. This is the famous V model, and it helps you visualize the integration scope of the software development lifecycle and solutions offered at each phase. On the left side of the V, you have Jama, where requirements management is performed through the different phases, and you also have Parasoft DTP, where the handshaking and exchange of information takes place between our tools. The Parasoft tool suite expedites your testing efforts, reduces the amount of labor, and boosts your engineers' productivity. And Parasoft tooling has been TÜV certified for use on safety critical applications. We're also known to be a very innovative company and have actually employed AI and machine learning to help our customers address pain points that go beyond just the traditional automation testing. On the right side of the view, you can see our list of products that address each of the various verification phases and a list of testing methods offered on the bottom right. Now, I also want to mention our seamless adoption. Parasoft is a test solution that plugs right into your development ecosystem, such as your engineer's integrated IDE, and this means that the solution is very intuitive and there's a very short learning curve. Since I'm going to walk you through a couple of optional workflows, let's go ahead and put this into context. So let's go to the next slide. The integration starts with requirements in Jama at the top of the cycle. Requirements can then be imported into Parasoft DTP. DTP again is our bidirectional navigation and integration hub and our reporting solution. Then at the bottom you have C++ tests, which can import and view the Jama requirements and Jama textual test cases. This is important because it gives the user access to the information needed on how to build or realize the actual executable test case. Then the executable test cases are linked to Jama requirements, executed, and the test results, including the traceability, is automatically propagated into DTP and then into Jama Connect. So this completes the workflow. Jama Connect will house the full traceability information for requirements, to test results, to code, and more. Since Parasoft can perform unit testing, integration testing, system testing, structural code coverage, and much more, for this particular demo, I'm going to focus it on unit testing of low-level requirements. All right, let's now see this in action. This is Jama Connect, and we're seeing a very simple project. It's called the Automotive ECU. This is the Explorer view. And we're seeing here the system requirements, and those system requirements have been decomposed into high-level requirements. And you can see the relationship rule diagram on the right-hand side here as part or within this dashboard. High level been decomposed to low level, and then down to test cases, and you could also link to defects and test runs. And we're seeing right now that for low-level test cases, all of the test cases have not been scheduled, and we also see requirements here that have not been validated by Parasoft. And there's additional other widgets that you can add, and test runs, we have no test runs, as you can see here as well. Now, there are several workflow scenarios that you might apply, and there's two common ones that we see out there. So I'm actually, for this demo, I decided to kind of tackle both of those at the same time. And what I mean by that is that there are clients who have system requirements decomposed all the way to the low-level requirements. And as we can see here, one with the name and the description and all that stuff. And that's where they stop. They stop at the low-level requirements. You can see that I've also added here a Parasoft validation tag or attribute to this requirement, which I'll use later on. But that's one of the really nice, powerful things about Jama, is it allows you to configure and decide what your workflow is going to be. So it's very nice. And likewise, Parasoft has built a very powerful integration so that it can support these different methodologies that you might choose to how to manage your projects and your requirements and so forth. So if you were to stop with just requirements, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how Parasoft will actually create for you the test case and create the test run for you with the whole pass-fail results. So that's one scenario. Now, the other scenario that I'm also going to show you is where you have created a test case. So here's the test case, an example of one. With a lot of information, description. You also have the steps, and you may have multiple steps that you want to test the full functionality of that particular requirement or that unit. And it'll also create for you automatically the test run or test results. Right now you can see it's empty, and that's why in our dashboard there are no test runs and no test cases and all that stuff that have been executed or scheduled or any of that kind of stuff. So in order to show you these two scenarios, one of the things I'm going to do for the scenario where you've only done requirements and you have created no test cases within Jama. So I'm going to go ahead and support that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a set of test cases, and I'm going to call it here Parasoft test cases. So I'm going to hit save and close. I'm going to make sure creates it at the top. I'm going to commit this change, and as you can see here, it created this Parasoft test cases. Again, for the scenario where we just have requirements, all of our Parasoft test cases that are automatically created by Parasoft are going to go in there. And actually, I've already configured this in Parasoft so that it looks for Parasoft test cases to make sure it puts them all in there. All right, so let's go to then the Parasoft DTP project where this connection takes place. So here we have Parasoft DTP. This is our dashboard, reporting dashboard. We generate a lot of compliance documents. You get to see the work in progress, violations, unit tests. In this case, we're seeing the requirements, 7 requirements that it extracted from Jama. We can see that there are no test cases that have that exist to validate any of the requirements, and none of them have been run. But we do see other information like code coverage and unit test cases here on the right, and all these violations. So static analysis has also been performed on the actual code, and we'll get to the code. But first, let's go ahead and show you how we connect to Jama. We're going to go to the external systems here. Here's our system type. We can select which ALM solution you want to integrate with, provide the name, the instance URL, and then the login information. You can also then test a connection. You can see that we're able to connect to that Jama instance. It's successful. And then once we connect, I've already connected, so you can then create a project association. The Jama project is automotive ECU, and so I've created a DTP project called ECU automotive, just so that we can see the difference there. Okay, so now this is the dashboard, and you can create even more dashboards on this particular code, on this particular project, dashboards that will show you compliance to auto SAR C++14, or for security CERT, or MISRA, and all those kinds of things. So highly customizable, and you can move around these things. And also you can dive into them. So 7 requirements, let's click on that. And when I click, what it's doing is it's reading the Jama requirements, it's pulling them out. And here you can see those requirements that exist in Jama. And I've been playing with this one, so that's why it shows zeros. But also we can then build traceability all the way to the file, the test, the code, defects, and reviews as well. And let me go ahead, I'll just show you, might as well, we'll navigate back to that requirement. And we can see here we're back to that particular requirement. So this is just the beginnings of showing you this whole bidirectional navigation that exists, and traceability. Okay, so I'm going to close that. Yeah, close this one. And let's go to the dashboard. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so let's go here back to DTP. And where does this information come from? Where is the code? Where is that? Well, that actually exists inside of Parasoft C++ test. This is a code that's running right now on the Eclipse IDE, and Parasoft runs on lots of different IDEs. One of the most popular one we're running into most of the time here is VS Code. But there's a comprehensive list of IDEs that we integrate with. And that's nice because you don't have to then learn a whole new tool. You're actually working within a development environment that you're very comfortable, very used to working. You know where everything is, so it becomes very intuitive, and the learning curve is just very minimal. So it's fantastic. Okay, so we're seeing the code here for the sensor, and you'll also notice that there's sections here that are in green and some are in red. And so green means it's code that has been executed because of test cases. The test cases are here on the right hand side, and so we have some code coverage. One of the things I really like to show you also about C++ tests is that you can right click, put the cursor on some of these red lines. You can right click on it, select Parasoft, and if you select show in coverage advisor, what it does is it analyzes the code and tells you, oh, create a test case where the value here, as you can see, is between 0 and 10, or equal to 0 and equal to 10, and somewhere in between. So we can create, if we create a test case like that, we'll actually be able to hit that line. And sometimes it gets really complex. You're trying to spend a lot of time to figure it out. We do it for you, so it simplifies, expedites code coverage. And of course, I also automatically created these test cases. So Parasoft here comes with the ability for you to create those unit test cases. You can see how you generated unit test. You can generate test suites, test stubs, and there's lots of capability here as well. You can also run simple static analysis, things like find any do a global analysis here, or find some unused code. Also, we support a lot of embedded targets. So we have compilers and processors and things that we make sure we run on, because we support your mil-aero, your automotive industry, rail, medical, and so on and so forth. So it's kind of cool. Also, compliance packs. If you need to be DO 178C compliant level A, we have compliance packs to help you achieve that. Automotive, AutoSAR, medical packs for FDA, security as well. So all of those compliance, and so this is all automated and it's configurable, and there's more here that you don't see. So I'm just giving you the basics, because really it should be focusing back on requirements, but I get kind of excited about all of this stuff. So let's go back to requirements. We see here that we have these requirements, and these requirements can come in a couple different ways. It can be imported straight from DTP, keeping everything in sync between Jama, DTP, and C++ test. And we also have some legacy import capabilities that you can bring in requirements through RecIF. All right, so when you bring in those requirements, you can see them here, those low-level requirements. And if you double-click on them, I can click on this requirement here, and you can see the requirement information. So it helps you build that test case based on the requirement. And then remember the other scenario as well, what happens if you have a test case? Well, we can also look at that test case information. So you have the description, and you can then create your test case based off of this input. So I already created a test case called handle sensor high, because we're testing this handle sensor requirement, and so a unit but requirement as well. So when I double click on it, you can see that there is a table format here, very easy for you to simply specify what the input values are, and also what the maybe expected results are. So we're going to put 15. We're testing high values, and it's in between 10 and 20, so should pass, and everything should work perfect. Now the other aspect of this is, how do I then connect to that Jama requirement? So the way we do that is that we're going to go to the actual code, because Parasoft doesn't use any kind of proprietary format to represent the test case. So it's we built it off of here's some XML, the table, and actual code. So the way we link it is, when it takes you to this test case, this test suite sensor C test case, we can come down here, and I'm going to click on the requirement, and I'm going to right click and select copy ID, and then I'm going to come here where there is this comment. I'm going to add a space, and I'm going to go ahead and paste that requirement in there. And because I'm also going to satisfy the other scenario where you have a test case, I want to then instead link to the test case, so it creates the test run for me. So this is the test case. I'm going to right click, copy that ID, and I'm going to now come here and paste that. Okay, so we have both those two, and I'm going to save these changes. That information is saved, and now I'm going to simply just run the test cases. I'm going to use my history here, so run these unit test cases. You can see that it's running. There's information here, and you also see publishing to DTP, so it's already transmitting that information and the test results and what was done to DTP, and then in turn it goes into Jama as well. So there's additional information, and C++ test can also generate its own reports, so we can go ahead and look at a report and what it looks like. So we have that. There were 7 test cases and 7 of them passed. So everything looks great, and it also there's some code coverage information available there as well. All right. Let me see. The other thing I'd like to show you is just real quickly code coverage information for all of that for these units or functions. And there's also, if you're looking at static analysis, you can go to here the different severity levels, and you can take a look at a particular violation, and if you hover over here it'll tell you what MISRA rule you violated in this case, and also we can dive actually deeper and find out how to fix that. There's examples in the documentation. Okay, so let's get back to DTP. We're back to the dashboard. You can see 7 requirements, but no changes here. So, and all we need to do is just simply refresh this. There's several ways to refresh it. We can refresh it, the widgets here. We can refresh the whole web page if we want. And so that's what we select. And so now it's reading and it's passing all this information between Jama and Parasoft DTP. So we see here now that there are 6 requirements with no test cases, and one of them does have a test case. And here we're seeing that there's none have been tested for 6 of them, but one of them has been tested. So this is kind of cool. And also, again, if we go into the requirements, you actually get to see the updated traceability, and we can navigate through here as well back to Jama. But what I'm going to actually do is let's take a look at the unit test cases. We see here the handle sensor high. That's the test case. We actually see the test code information. You can see the stuff I had entered. And the other beautiful thing is that we have here on the right hand side the Jama Connect defect. If you find or discover defects, we can go ahead and create a Jama defect, so it populates Jama with the defect. We can configure that so it knows where to put those defects, and this is really cool because now within Jama you can manage all of your defects. Again, there's test history, there's coverage information, there's details here about the test case and the artifacts in Jama that you are connected to. So we see the requirement and the test case itself. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's go back to Jama and let's look at some of that information. Let's see what happened in Jama. Alright, so let's go ahead and refresh. So now that we refresh, you'll notice that Parasoft test cases has actually the handle sensor high test case. So because we linked it to the requirement, and you can see here this requirement, we actually now have 2 test cases. The one that was originally there and the one now that was automatically created by Parasoft. So we see that test case, we see all of the information that that Parasoft automatically created, and we also see that there's a test run, and we can actually click on it and we can see that test run and it passed. So I can navigate to that test run with all of the information, when it was run, by who it was run. And the other thing, now that you're in Jama, you can also navigate back to Parasoft DTP, back to the test case that we see here. Handle sensor high, pass with all of that information. And again, in the details, we can go back to that requirement or that test case. So it's kind of cool, kind of pretty neat. And so that satisfies that scenario where you just have requirements and now you have test cases created for you. The other thing we can do is, okay, let's take a look at the handle sensor test case. And that test case, you see that it's passed, and also you can see that it's now automatically has a test run, and it has its own test run, and we can navigate to that particular test run. Again, it has the information about that test case, but now it has the DTP information as well. And if we go to close all of this stuff and we take a look at the dashboard, back to the dashboard, you see that it's updated these results. We see that we have now 2 test cases that have been run, and so out of all the test cases, and we have some passed. We have 2 test cases that passed. We have 2 test runs, right? One for each of the two test cases. One that was created by a Parasoft, and the other one that was manually created by the user developer. So this one, and this one. Now the other thing is, we notice that low-level requirement still says Parasoft validated. It's not, doesn't say yes to that. And basically that's because not everything is completely automated just yet. But when we go to this requirement, now that you've validated, now that you know it's passed, you have the option now to go ahead, click here, and mark it as validated. Now these attributes, the types, you can change them any way you want. So feel free to change this workflow, but at least it shows you how we accomplished it. And going back to the dashboard, we can refresh this widget, and now you can see that yes, one of the requirements has been validated by Parasoft. All right, so that's all that I wanted to show you on this demo. Let's go ahead and go to the questions and answers. So before we jump into Q&A, just in general, I again recommend that you visit our website. We offer lots of educational content and events, like we do monthly demos, we do a lot of webinars, and there's a lot more that we also offer. Now, if you want to learn more about C, C++ test or some of our other solutions, you can request a custom in-depth demo or send us an email at info@parasoft.com. As you can see in the slide, I've also placed some QR codes on very informative collateral, including topics on some of our other product solutions that you may be interested in. We support Java, C#, VB.NET, and so forth. Okay, so let's start with the first question here. Developing a safety critical system and need to test on target hardware. Can your tool support the scenario? And is Parasoft TÜV certified? Yes, C++ test supports testing on target hardware. We support validation of embedded safety critical systems. We have actually a comprehensive list of processors, compilers, and real-time operating systems that we run. Again, I recommend visiting the Parasoft website, and particularly the C++ test product page and specifications also page. You will find the list there. And also not only is C++ test TÜV certified, but also our DTP reporting tool also has TÜV certification for safety critical systems. Okay. Our next question, can you create requirements in Parasoft? Actually, that's an interesting question. Parasoft does not create or modify requirements in any way. We leave it up to the user to manage their requirements in Jama. We only import requirements for verification validation purposes, so that you can, viewing, linking, traceability to test cases and code, as you saw in the demo. Also, the test results are exported into Jama. So therefore, actually, Jama remains the software development lifecycle hub of your project. There is no requirements competition between Jama and Parasoft. The integration is an extension into a solid automated software testing solution. All right, so hopefully that kind of explains that. Let's see, got another question. How do I get access to this integration, and is there a price for the integration or cost? Okay. So yeah, I recommend again contact Parasoft at info@parasoft.com with your interest in the solution, or visit our website. Most of the site pages on the you'll see on the right-hand side on the edge there is a red vertical tab that says Try Parasoft. I would click on it so you can submit your request through that approach as well. And yes, there is a Parasoft license feature for the Jama integration. So let me check here. Next question. It says, we are using Jama version 8.63. Is the integration compatible with this version? Yeah, actually, so we released Parasoft 2021.1. That's where this integration has been introduced, and it is compatible with Jama 8.63. That's the actually Jama version that I used on this demo. Okay, next question. Let's see. From the automotive industry, does Jama have templates for the automotive domain to help satisfy ISO 26262 standard? This is more of a question for Jama, but yes, Jama actually is highly configurable and supports the automotive domain as well as many other industries. This is one of the key strengths of the integration, because Parasoft also supports testing of automotive applications to help achieve compliance to ISO 26262 and other standards like 62304 for medical and the 0178C for mil-aero, and of course many others. Let's see. Another question. For failed test cases, are bugs automatically created in Parasoft? And if yes, can the bugs be imported to Jama? So I know I quickly skimmed this topic in the demo, but yes, bugs can be created and automatically exported from Parasoft into Jama, so that all of those bugs and issues can be then managed and tracked in Jama. We have another. Is it possible to automate testing as part of the build process with Parasoft and GitHub? Actually, absolutely. In fact, most of our customers have this automated. And many of our prospects are looking for test solutions that work with their CI pipeline. So we have integrations with tools like Jenkins and GitHubs and others in support of your custom workflow or CI pipeline. We actually delivered on our monthly demo last week a short 20-minute demo on our GitHub integration. You may want to go check out our website to see the replay of that demonstration. Okay, this is the last question. You mentioned that Parasoft uses AI machine to perform static analysis. Is that correct? Actually, we do offer AI machine learning to prioritize your static analysis findings, not in performing the analysis, but in learning how the team prioritizes identified violations and which violations are addressed first. So it learns from all of this activity, and then once it's learned, it will automate this for you. So it saves in time and labor costs by having our AI go through the effort for the team in prioritizing and instructing the team on which violations to address first. All right. So anyways, that is the last question I have. I thank you very much for attending. A recording will be made available, and please visit our website for additional webinars and demos that we do on a monthly basis. And thank you. And this concludes our presentation. Bye-bye.